Hello, welcome to OT the podcast. Happy holidays, Merry Christmas, and a Happy New Year to everyone celebrating. We're here to talk about Watch This Time and the year that was. Andy Green, I'm Felix Schultz. What an intro.
That was amazing, Felix. I'm Andy Green, as you mentioned. Yeah, no guest, nothing big, just a wrap of 2023. We've got a bunch of different categories, awards that we've chosen to distribute however we feel and deem fit, which is good. But yeah, it's that time of year. Bit of extra time.
Can I do a little bit of scene setting here? We're recording this between Christmas and New Year's, obviously. We're kind of, I don't know. You had a good Christmas? You had a good festive time?
As good as can be. What about you?
Yeah, pretty good. It's that sort of week of nothingness between the two things before, holidays go back or work goes back or whatever. And we just, look, it's going to be pretty loosey-goosey. I selected the arbitrary number of 12 categories for us to, air quotes, debate on or pick our, sort of, air quotes, winners. Because there's, 12 months in a year, 12 hours on a watch. And it seemed nice. But before that, Andy, what's been going on in your more personal, professional life? What have you been up to?
Mate, I visited Australia's outback.
Right. Did you get Rigid Edge?
Yeah. I went to Mount Isa, which is far north Queensland. It's one of the world's biggest mines, the Mount Isa mine. Outback, I've never been before. I went into a mine, but it posed a question, Felix.
Yep.
Posed a couple of questions. Logistically, it's a bit of a mission, sort of like 5 hours on an aeroplane with a stopover in Brisbane.
Yep.
But it posed a question because it's rural, it's outback, it's very hot, a lot of running around. I knew I'd be getting dusty and in a mine, and I kind of had the realisation of what watch do I wear? And
let me also be real, like I assume this is in your day job when you're interfacing with people that may not be aficionados of Geneva's finest.
That and I didn't really know what to expect with the outback. It's not the big city. It's not the big smoke. It's a bit different. So
you're a city guy,
city boy. Yeah. So and it's also very hot. So about 40 degrees Celsius.
Yep.
When I was going to be there, super sunny, very dusty, and so I landed on the Apple Watch Ultra.
You posed this question to me on WhatsApp, and my immediate, without a second's hesitation, guess that I stand by it was the Hilltop Hoods G-Shock.
Yeah, perfect. If you know anything about Queensland, that'll be great. So I wore the Apple Watch because they're great travel watches,
sure,
especially with cellular. So you get all the time zones, you get all your. When you're on the go, running through airports, you don't have your phone in your hand the whole time. So you get emails, you get everything on there. They're obviously super comfortable. The straps are great, easy on, easy off. It still feels like you're wearing a watch. Like the Ultra's is pretty big and pretty heavy, so it still feels you got that wrist presence. Super handy for the outback though, because it gives you I switched it up to the display that had the temperature and the UV and all that sort of stuff.
Oh, cool.
Because I wouldn't check UV. Normally.
Yeah, that's not part of your daily life.
It's not part of, and I should, and I really should, but it gave me the UV, which was really important because I was outdoors the whole day and trying my best not to get burnt because I'm pretty pasty and I don't want to get skin cancer, and it's the skin cancer capital of the world. So I monitored the UV. It was 38, 39 degrees the whole time. I didn't get burnt.
Is it smart enough to give you reminders to you should put your sunscreen on again?
Yeah. So in the morning it'll say wear sunscreen and sun protection during these hours, which for Mount Isa was the whole time. But it was just good sort of having that. Oh, yep, this is the temperature. Yeah, it's really, really high UV. Lower than in Melbourne. It's a great running around travel watch. I don't think there's a better travel watch than the Apple Watch.
Here's a potentially niche question. How underground did you go?
Well, we went into it's a decommissioned mine. I would think that it was 70 or 80 metres.
How'd it go? Was there any sort of connectivity or?
Nah. No, hot, didn't have any reception of anything. Yep. Didn't love going down there. Gotta say, a bit of claustrophobia.
Yeah, no, not for me.
Smelt weird. Smelt very metallic, which is it's a kind of metal mine. But that brings me to something a bit more watch related. Although I think this is one of my more relevant introductory kind of topics. So a lot of flying, a lot of time at the airport. I caught 4 flights in 3 days. So the next question I faced was, how do I entertain myself? What do I do on these flights at the airport?
Podcasts,
audiobooks. Yeah, well, already up to date with OT the podcast. Discord was going off, so that was good. But I loaded up Netflix, and one of the things that I watched, and my rule with travel is you get time to yourself, so you always do things and watch things that you otherwise wouldn't like your partner wouldn't want to watch.
Yeah.
It's that you kind of have that list of shows that they just have no interest in.
Yeah.
And stand-up comedy definitely falls into that.
Sure.
But Bert Kreischer has a movie on Netflix called The Machine.
Hang on. So Bert Kreischer, is he mates with? Is it Tom Segura's mate?
Yep. Yes.
And is the machine like his nickname or something?
Yeah. Yes, Tom Segura and Bert have a very successful podcast, Two Bears, One Cave.
Sure.
He's gone on to do he's a very big stand-up comedian. Stories about Bert Kreischer, I think, are more funny and interesting than Bert Kreischer is.
Yes.
Like he can be really funny, but then he can also not be really funny for me.
Mm-hmm.
But anyway, he really exploded. He's been like a long time sort of funny man trying to crack through the scene, and he really exploded maybe 5 years ago, 6 years ago, like just went viral. And it was for a stand-up routine where he talks about how he got the nickname The Machine. And it's more or less a story. We can link it up because it is very good. And he insists that it's true. But he talks about how he was doing a year abroad in Russia during his college, and he accidentally robbed a train with the Russian mafia.
Mm-hmm.
So he tells the whole story. He was just friends with one of the guys, and because the Russian mob over there run everything, whatever. It's this wild story, and how he ended up sort of feeling really bad because he sort of like helped them rob a train. And it was just this wild story, and it went bananas, and it basically made him explode, and changed his life for the best. Anyway, he decided that he would take that story and turn it into a movie that sort of carried on from the stand-up show. And I find this interesting because a watch is pivotal to the plot of this movie. But basically, 20 years on, he's a successful comedian. Somewhere in Russia, one of the people that was on the train sees it, and turns out, they're a rival mob boss who had their watch stolen, their pocket watch stolen. And so they send, to get it back. Basically, the daughter goes to the US and kidnaps him to force him to track down this pocket watch.
Bert's playing Bert.
Bert's playing Bert, yeah. So Bert's playing Bert. Mark Hamill plays his dad.
Classic.
Random and kind of cool. But it's basically all about him trying to track down, reliving his past to try and track down a pocket watch that the daughter needs to get to sort of win her father's favour.
Can I say, the machine story, I have zero doubts. I have no doubts that it is legit.
Yeah, I think it is legit. Have you seen it?
I've seen bits. I've watched it in parts on TikTok,
Yeah, link it up and go watch it. It is a very good story. And look, it's got 5.8 out of 10. I think it's a 5 out of 10 movie. It's good fodder. But yeah, I mean, the interesting other thing about Bert is, so have you ever heard of the film Van Wilder, National Lampoons?
Yeah, of course, yep.
So that's based on him during college.
Really?
So yeah, he's got another great story. There's some great Bert facts out there. Make a whole segment. But he sold the rights. He ended up selling the rights to his life when he was in his 20s.
That makes sense.
It eventuated into that film. But what happened was he was at I think it was like Florida State University, and one of the not local, but like a big publication wanted to do interviews with the students to kind of talk about college life.
Yeah.
And they came across him. He'd been there for 6 years. He'd never graduated.
There was a Rolling Stone article about it.
Yes. Yeah. So there's a Rolling Stone article about it. It led to a lot. But basically how he was this party animal that was never going to graduate and this whole thing. Anyway, that then led to him selling his kind of life rights to his story years and years later. And so he's had these, that's when I say he's had really interesting, the stories about him are far more interesting than a lot of his stand-up. But I found it interesting that there's this whole kind of mainstream Netflix thing going on, and I haven't seen anyone talking about the pocket watch in the movie, but maybe no one's watched it yet. Yeah,
I mean, look, maybe we're all too in our ivory towers watching, I don't know.
But he's a bit of a watch guy. He's he would perform with a Gold Date. I think he's got a sub now or something.
Surely Time and Tide has covered it.
I'm very sure they have. Do
a little search. That sounds like a great way to entertain yourself on commuter flights. I don't have any good stories like that. I've just got a few shameless self-promos. Andy.
Hit me.
One of which, again, milking Dubai Watch Week, Watch Pro. They asked the top 20 timepieces of Dubai Watch Week. A lot of the people put the HM11 Architect down. I wonder if there's any, I hate to question whether or not they enjoyed MBNF's hospitality in the desert beforehand. It is a cool watch. Odd and a little bit gimmicky, but super cool. I put down the Ming obviously. And then another one, Mike Christensen sent out a big DM a while ago on the best. Is it the best watches of 2023? Have I linked up the right story here? God. He asked a really specific question. No, it's the wrong story. Anyway, it was like, God, this is classic Felix.
Messed it up.
I have messed it up. He asked us a question about the biggest Grail watches.
Okay.
And you sort of had to put your hat on. Like, these are not Grail watches for me, but I'm like, if someone says what are the biggest Grail watches at the moment, you go, Cartier Crash, blah 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 blah. Rexepi. That's what I said at least. But I'll link up the actual proper story. It's an interesting premise, like especially for a thought exercise about someone working in an industry that hates the concept of Grail watches and doesn't like that side of watch collecting, but still, I have to have an opinion on it for these sort of things, so I did.
And what was your pick?
I did a list. It had to be 5. So Crash, any Cartier, you can't go wrong with a Crash. The Chronometer Contemporain, and a couple of others. Probably some sort of Rolex.
Grails.
The usual.
I love it.
The usual suspects. Boring
Look at
stuff.
you go, just out everywhere.
Well, yeah, I'm trying to do my job every so often.
Stay relevant.
Which brings us, Andy, to the main premise of this episode. Looking back at 2023 in watches, the year that was, we're going to go through categories now, but before we do, I want to ask you a framing question.
Yep.
On a scale of 1 to 10, how good was 2023 for watches for you?
6.8. What about you?
Yeah, I reckon that's about right.
Yeah.
I was thinking 6.5.
Yeah, it's been a bit under very good. It's been above average.
I think that's probably a fair bit of myself in that. Like someone, I would totally accept someone else saying 9.
Oh, Mike Nouveau would say it's been a 12 out of 10.
We've turned hard on Mike Nouveau, haven't we?
I think it's a little bit of individual perspective. On the release front, I think there's been so much unsustainable excitement over the last few years.
Yeah.
And I think 6.8 is pretty good still. It's a good score. Next year can be better.
Okay. All right. Well, this is it. We're looking forward to the future. But point of question number 1, biggest watch brand winner of 2023 overall. Do you want to go first or do you want me to?
I can roll out first on this one.
Please do.
Biggest watch brand winner. I'm going to say, I can see your answer here. I agreed with you for a minute and then I thought, no, it's going to be Swatch.
Oh, yeah, why?
They have consistently and delivered on their limited edition moon swatches that have just been, crazy popular. And to this day, a moon swatch is a hard watch to get. It is quite a bit of effort. You have to go to one of their boutiques and hope that they had a delivery that day. Granted, I know that, if you do turn up on the day that they get a bunch, you'll be able to get one. But they still get lines out the door every time they drop a new one. And it's like the limited edition sneaker thing. They'd be killing it. They've sold probably $1 billion worth of these watches since they launched it.
They certainly, bankrolled the entire Swatch group.
So I think
trouble otherwise.
So I think as far as staying relevant and kind of maintaining that momentum, because it's hard. It's hard to do what they've done.
But isn't this the defining example of what you just said about unsustainable momentum?
Well, that's why I think it's impressive that they've kind of kept it. I mean, they've done a really interesting job with the I think it's the Neptune. I'm not super into the moon swatch stuff, but the blue one, which had all the issues with the dye bleeding, apparently that's really hard to get. That's a couple of grand on eBay still, and it's a tough. But they've made people want to collect them. They did the Blanc Palm, which I didn't like, but people loved it, and I just think they've done such a good job at being a watch brand this year. I mean, everyone knows Swatch. Everyone knows Moon Swatch.
Does it make you feel, I mean, all of the watch industry is sort of pretty disposable in a lot of ways, even though it says it isn't. Does it kind of make you feel a bit icky that this is essentially I mean, I guess we've got iPhones, so there is no ethical consumption under capitalism.
Exactly. I mean, I don't love the idea, especially people that collect, 12 of them or whatever. I don't see the point because you spent $4 grand getting a bunch of $400 watches when you could have bought, the real deal or something.
How many Funko Pops could you get for that much money?
That's true as well. Yeah. So anyway, I do think Swatch have probably won the year. What about you?
Look, I played it a bit safer. I just thought, for me, who hasn't put a step out of line all year in terms of their product, in terms of their, communication, in terms of their, the technical side, in terms of the design, the market, all of it, I think, is really humming along nicely at the moment over at Tag Heuer.
Mm-hmm.
From Ryan Gosling seems to be working out really well. They're a brand that, for me, they're such a big brand and they're such a sort of visible, like they spend a lot on ambassadors and they really, the price point is sort of at that lower end of the high price mark. So there's a lot of them out there in the market, and this year they are doing everything really, really well. All the visual side, like the neon, the retro, that night, sort of 80s aesthetic. The Carrera, I think, it is legitimately such a nice watch. The new Carrera design, it's so smart.
Yeah, glass box energy.
And like you said, I think it's a sustainable design for many years to come. So hopefully they keep that strategic line going forward, because, corporate brands can sort of be veered, or a new CEO or a new, I don't know, quarterly report or a new trend might sort of shift things around a bit. But I think they're in a really good place at the moment.
Yeah, I mean, last year was very good for Tag Heuer. I mean, we always say this, but the last few years they've been on a good run.
Yeah, and I think it's only getting stronger because like they're getting, everything's lining up and they're getting into the rhythm. So hopefully, no spanners in the works in the form of, strategic changes or anything. But yeah, I'm hoping that next year is going to be equally strong for them.
Amazing. All right, Felix, what was the biggest surprise of 2023 for you? Watch-wise?
2. Can I have 2?
Okay. I've got 2, so you can, but let's make it quick.
Okay, first one, Rolex.
Mm-hmm.
I rolled into Watches and Wonders, fully expecting them to be the most boring brand in the planet because, that's in one very real way what they do. They make the same watch, they make it exceptional, but they don't really innovate or, rock the boat too much. But they did everything. They threw all this stuff against the wall, puzzle watches, celebration watches, they dropped the Cellini, introducing, then later on they made a limited edition, Daytona Rolex. Like all this stuff is very un-Rolex and it's kind of surprising. And the other one is a late entrant, which shouldn't really have surprised me, but it still did, the revival of Universal Genève.
Yeah, I think the UG thing was quite interesting, Felix. Sort of we speculated the other week on what's going on. More details have been trickling out, but I'm keen to see what happens there.
And Rolex, what are you, as the dedicated Rolex fan in the room?
Yeah, they'll come up a bit throughout this chat.
Okay.
But overall, I mean, the puzzle piece was wild. Putting emojis on a date wheel, that whole watch is kind of wild. So, yeah, Rolex having Rolex fun has been a bit of a surprise, I gotta say.
And what about you? What are your big surprises?
Yeah, so I did have the Lamar sort of limited edition where they sort of said that it was limited or, that on there. Then I nixed it because you already had it. I've got 2 though.
Okay.
First one, we had an actual 4-way collaboration.
Please tell me which one.
So that was the Bamford Tag Heuer Rolling Blazers Eric Wind.
Yes.
The 4-way happened.
Did we manifest that?
We must have.
We've spoken to all 4 of those people in various places. Wow.
We're the overlap. We're the Venn of their diagram of how they actually, it's probably
Frank Mueller,
Wind.
we're coming up for you. God, we should get Frank Mueller on, imagine.
It's fine.
And your other surprise of 2023?
We were talking about this morning, our podcast sort of, if we're number 1, they're number 2, About Effing Time. Closing shop. Did you see this?
Yes. So they're, I don't know, I'm suspicious. So About Effing Time is former employer Andrew McCutcheon, friends and peers George Bamford and Adrian Barker, along with
I think
Marcus
they're
Flack.
all friends.
Yeah, you're right. But I've only worked for one of them, so that's a...
No, I mean, I think they're friends with each other.
Yeah, true. It sort of reeks a little bit to me of like it's a rebrand. Don't call it a relaunch. Or maybe they've just decided, hey, this is a lot of hard work. Let's, we've all got day jobs, which is what they said essentially.
Yeah, they're dressed in a video, so it was sort of apparently a surprise to everyone.
Yeah. Oh well. Watch this space, as the cliche goes.
You think, I don't know. At first I was like, I think, is this marketing? Is this like a prank? Because they give off prankster vibes. And then I watched all of them sort of do their bit, which I think, I don't know, maybe we can read between the lines there, why it was separated when they were all sort of in the UK. I don't know, they were all together recently.
I reckon it's a lot of work. And if you're not making money off that or what you need to be making.
Felix, podcasts are a huge amount of work, of course. We've done over 200.
Especially how they do it.
Yeah, we're highly produced, all over the place, all over Europe, all over the world, full production, all that for Marcus, who does it as well. It's enormous amount of work, plus getting them all in the same room. But I think just to close it out, not being together, that to me made me think maybe it's not publicity. Maybe there's like intergroup drama.
Big personalities in that trio, I suspect.
Maybe I don't know. Maybe I don't know. There's probably a boy band equivalent in sync.
Okay. Yeah, Robbie Williams. Hey,
but anyway.
Next up, let's race through these because it's that time of the year. Breakout star of 2023. You or me first?
Say it so that I can argue with you.
Louis Vuitton.
No.
Hold your little. Just wait your little snarky corner there, Andy. I'm not saying this is a great thing. I'm not saying it's not something you can't buy with a lot of money, which they've certainly been throwing a lot of money around. But the main thing for me, not just the tambour, not just them making proper noise in the watch space again, but their Louis Vuitton award for independent creatives and then positioning themselves as like a viable alternative to that sort of GPHG, which is sort of waning. They're this overarching patron of independent horology. I think it's very clever, and I think I'm not cynical about it.
So many bones. I have so many bones to pick.
Keep picking, Andy.
All right, that award, the independent awards. So they've recently, I think it was this past week, Michael Tay from the Hourglass. Mm-hmm. He's sort of heading it up, or he's been picked as the person. Love Michael Tay. Absolutely knows his independent brands better than anyone else. Rumoured to have one of the biggest independent watch collections in the world.
Yes.
Right? It's like a very well-known secret that he's got an enormous, one of the biggest, most prolific watch collections in the world. How can you tell me that he's independent when he sells all those brands? You just can't be. You just cannot be. And then you've got Louis Vuitton, which is the biggest brand in the world behind it, which he also sells through the Hourglass. You just can't be. I love the Hourglass. I love Michael Tay, but it's just the very word independent is not there. The other thing is, this is the Bulgari Octo Finissimo all over again. Every time I see it, people going out, they're trying to push it. I don't know. I think when it's a hit, it's a hit. That's how hits go. You don't need to...
You can make a hit. You can 100% manufacture a hit.
It's a manufactured hit. This is what it is. Here's what it is. Maybe I'll see one and I'll go, it's great. And then if I go, I wouldn't pay for it. Maybe if I got offered 40% off.
Or maybe was given it.
Or got given it. Man, it's great. Maybe if I had inside information about them buying an independent brand and maybe this was a good way to, win some favour. Maybe, but not for me. My breakout star, burner on. Sylvain, he came out of nowhere, burst out the, gates running.
Okay, I mean, he's been, I think that he burst onto our radar because he's been doing his thing for a while. But
little while, but he broke out. I think he broke out this year. Innovative, genuinely cool. Everyone I show the watches to loves them and is really interested and even like heavily considers, the price point and sort of, you can see people do the mental, that's so cool that how could I possibly make a $60,000 watch from a brand that hasn't made a watch yet happen? Yep. I think that's breakout star.
Rolling on to, this is again changing tone dramatically here, bringing it a little bit more personal. Mm-hmm. What watch have you worn the most this year, Andy?
Okay, for me, watch, it's probably my Palmdale Datejust.
Okay.
That's been 36 mil. That's been a pretty regular, kind of dressy dressy, sporty, everything. Just a great
Yep.
daily watch. Don't need to worry or fuss about it. Otherwise, it would be the Arnold Dane OTs. They've been getting a lot of wear.
Yeah, I
Well,
noticed
where?
you. Did you wear it on Christmas Day, by the way?
Yeah.
Me
Yeah.
too. Didn't even.
OT
didn't even-
bros. Yeah. Yeah. And then as I
and
mentioned,
I noticed the strap you had it on was a custom strap gifted to you by one Felix Schultz.
oh, you noticed. Yes. Yep. Love that strap. It's perfect for the pink dial.
Thank you very much.
No, thank you. And a good chunk of Apple. A very good chunk of Apple Watch.
Yeah, look, I think my profile is essentially similar to yours. Pixel was worn a fair bit of the time. Probably the Grand Seiko, the quartz guy that I've got, was, it's always the default for me. But the one I've enjoyed, and in the spirit of, new for 2023, it's a sort of a second half of the year acquisition. But the one I didn't expect to enjoy so much as I have, the 37mm Nomos Club Sport that we got twinsy sort of versions of.
Yeah, you're loving it.
It's really great. It's that same sort of thing. I suspect it fills that same slot of like, it's versatile. It's not too big. It's not too anything. And it's it looks great on a fabric strap. So yeah,
Very good. Well, moving on to the next category you've selected, personal highlight of the year, 2023. You've got 3 letters.
yeah. For me, pretty obvious. Dubai Watch Week. It was just a nice, both professional and personal experience to head out there. Totally new watch experience for me, and yeah, really enjoyed it. I don't need to go too far into the.
Don't have to
Covered
because
a
we're
lot.
still milking the content from your.
Yeah, we'll link
there
up
for
a few
2
episodes
days.
if you want to.
We've got 3 months worth of content from 2
Yeah,
days. I love it.
until Watches and Wonders rolls around.
Perfect.
What about you?
For me, I reckon it was our chat with Alan Bloor,
Yeah, you're right.
the hammer. The chat, him being such a great guy, and then the response. Just what an overwhelmingly positive response. Everyone loved it. Everyone loves Alan. You kind of see, you share it, you talk about it, and everyone just loves him.
A good reminder of what makes again, I think a needed antidote for me, certainly, of getting a bit cynical about watches. He's a refreshment of positivity.
Like a can of Solo, a cool can of Solo.
Oof, slam it down fast. Andy, what what style movement do you want to say goodbye to in 2023?
Keeping it positive. I want to watch TikTok out of my TikTok feed.
You want to retrain the algorithm?
Yeah, well, I like the watch adjacent stuff where like a watch story comes up and we send it to each other and we're like, oh, that's what a random inclusion of a watch, or what a interesting thing to learn about this watch or this story about this watch. The rest of it, the live negotiations, they've gone too far. There's so many of them. And
the lists.
The list. I think lists have just made their way onto TikTok.
No, but I'm specifically that sort of video format of like, these are 5 for the greats. Like, it's maybe it's for me, and I am sounding like the old German guy at Basel World. The knowledge level's not there.
Well, I think that's the whole problem, is because you're appealing to this broad audience and you have to make it super entertaining and take out the knowledge.
Yeah.
But then again, I did James Lambden, Analog Shift.
I just got him before.
They got a TikTok.
Yeah.
And it's not bad.
Yeah, was it that Vacheron with the louvers?
Yeah.
Yeah, nice.
That was nice.
Anyway, 2 for me. Again, doubling up.
Yep.
First one, I'm glad that Francois-Henri Benimay, AP CEO, is gracefully exiting. He's been a lot. I'm looking forward to the next generation of AP's leadership. The other thing I want to say goodbye to is boring retro reissues.
Boring? Like what?
Look, I don't want to throw any shade, but like, hey, here's a watch we made in 1956 that was a pilot's watch. We've made it again. Here's a dive watch that is inspired by our original design. Like, I think it's lazy design, and we need to be a little bit more creative. Otherwise, we're going to the fashion will move on before the designers have, you know what I mean? Like, the fashion will end, and everyone's going to be left holding the baby.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's inevitable. I gotta say, I don't think we're gonna lose the safe reissues.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's less. I'm okay with well done ones and good ones and like properly limited ones, but just the laziness, we can lose that.
All right. Best social media account of ties into TikTok of 2023. I'll start. My guy is Watch Studies. Have you seen Watch Studies?
I think you've told me about him before, and I think I follow him.
Vern, I remember, so he's like a photographer guy. I don't know. I spoke to him over the years. And Vern Ho's his name. And I remember, I think, talking about, Cartier. He's got a tech job. So I just remember talking to him about his office setup, and it was just insane. Anyway, he's gotten really into the watch stuff. He's got 195,000 followers and posts some of the nicest, most interesting kind of photography and watch content on Insta. I mean, he posts his like grandpa's Cellini, which was like a really interesting bezel with like a brown sort of ambery, almost ombre sort of effect on the dial with like 3 diamond markers. It was his grandpa's watch. His grandpa's still around, but it's like the story of his grandpa's watch, which I love. He does a lot of sort of behind the scenes and how to, like, tips and tricks for it. But yeah, I think he's one of the most interesting watch accounts of the year.
Nice. I'm going to go a little bit closer to home, and this is not. It's just someone I see working, and I see the behind the scenes of it, and I understand how hard social media is, and I personally, it will come as no surprise to you, Andy, have very little time for it. Like, I find it so challenging, and I am very conflicted with it as a marketing requirement of business. But Chamath, Watch Advice / Champs SG, he's great. He works so hard at what he does, and he's incredible, and he's really, really good at the watches.
Watch Advice, yeah. Champs kills it. He hustles. Yeah, he's everywhere. So hard.
Yeah, he's like,
he
props.
hustles.
I know. Yeah, it's hard work. Next up, Vexed question: what money would you spend your real, actual world money on? You first.
Oh well, let's say I have more money in this real world.
That's part of it, though. It's got to be achievable. Like, obviously, we'd all buy, the
Funny you
platinum.
Say that. The Rolex Le Mans Daytona. Saw it in real life. I didn't want to like it, but in real life, it is a spectacular example of the Daytona. It is very cool, and if the opportunity arose, I would find the funds, because you're just never gonna. That's a watch you will never see someone else wear.
What's it worth?
Oh, like 78,000 Australian dollars.
Yeah, okay.
Properly limited. They've, as far as bringing in that Paul Newman element, they've killed it. They've just done such a great job. It's that or it's a Tank Normal. But
have you seen those yet?
Yeah, but Spenno, big money, big coin. What about you?
Less Spenno. And again, I famously have my rule of don't buy anything within the first 12 months. Having said that, I could see myself being very happy with the Tudor FXT.
Where are we at on your 12-month time limit?
Well, I mean, put my name down, maybe get it, it's getting
you're
9 months. Yeah.
And you still you're feeling
I enjoy it. It's a really nice watch. It's not an exciting watch.
No.
But it's a great watch.
It is a great watch.
Yeah.
Cool.
Mostly for the strap.
Biggest story of 2024.
I've got a few contenders here. Prices coming down. Meta narrative of like softening markets.
Massively, yeah.
And then I've got the general shady auction business. Specifically the Amiga story, which was a pretty big one, and just the other, the Bourne, the Oman.
Yep, recently resolved apparently.
Yeah, there was weird litigation and stuff. So general auction shadiness, I think they're the most interesting stories of the year. Yeah,
I agree with you. You know, there was the big kind of Rolex fine, 100 million euro or thereabouts fine that happened recently for that behaviour. There was the only watch. Sort of drama, shady or not, that sort of delayed that.
This is all the thing for me. This is all what happens is when there's a lot of money and a lot of stress about that money in watches. Like this, we're not. This is all like big money, individuals involved, and risk at the table.
Well, did you see Perez? Even Perez came after the Space Dweller that was basically just an explorer with a different dial.
For the Japanese market,
apparently for the Japanese market, and he came after that on Christmas Eve.
Oh, Perez.
Saying that it was never actually, a thing. It was, fabricated. So, yeah, shadiness, I agree. And that leads into the answer I have for the next one, which is the best, I don't know if best is the right word, But the biggest, maybe I'll change it, mainstream watch moment, because it's not good. But I had two. The first one is TPG, Going Down, Timepiece Gentleman.
Not the Australian internet provider.
No. That was one that, just still getting coverage, still unraveling, but that was just everywhere. Like proper mainstream, LA Times, New York Times, all those places just sort of covering what went on. And that's sort of the big, that was if you
the
ask
actual
me,
FBI were involved.
still are. Yeah, that's sort of like the Paul Newman Daytona of this year past.
Yep.
So that's massive. Also shady. So that fits both categories
Yep.
because it's super shady, and I think it's very easy for people to look back and go, none of this made any sense. He seemed too sus. We should have known. The other one was news from today, actually. Apple, talking about how much I love the Apple Watch, they've been banned from selling the Apple Watch in the USA at the moment.
Why?
For allegedly stealing or infringing upon an existing patent. I think it's to do with some of the medical tech in there. So there's a med tech company over there that said, no, you've hired our ex-staff and stolen our ideas. And they've got a ban in place. And I think they sell tens of billions of dollars of this watch over there. So it's a pretty big deal. It's pretty big breaking news.
Yeah, I mean, for me, this is one that I think is, again, sort of fairly late in the year, but I think we'll have, maybe not publicly, you're not going to see headlines about it, but I think we'll have big implications. Rolex getting that big, what was it, multiple million, like $70, $80 million fine in France for not letting their retail network sell Rolex online. Which is, again, I'm not particularly surprised about that. Rolex has a very strenuous relationship and guidelines, but the fact that it,
I haven't looked into it enough to realize, like, if anyone even complained. I can't see the authorized dealers wanting to sell online.
Well, I think that's the point. I think the whatever the French equivalent of the ACCC is said, this is not, this is like anti-competitive behaviour.
Yeah, but I can't imagine the ADs, the authorized dealers, complained.
Unless someone lost their AD because they tried to do it, or
it's got to be something like that, or they've just lost it and then that was their way of kind of having a dig. But I just can't see them complaining. Like, one, complaining against that, that gravy train, and two.
But yeah, I think that will have implications and will probably speed up some timelines.
Yeah,
in Geneva, and that has implications for Patek and has implications for all these other brands as well. So I think that'll be interesting. Biggest trends of the year. Do we already do this? No, biggest trends. Trends we want to see go away.
Yeah, okay. So the biggest trends for me is this kind of like implied quiet luxury.
Yeah.
Which I think is probably Cartier for the most part. Cartier is the Cartier boom, which just continues. But it's this concept of, everyone loves like the idea of quiet luxury, stealth wealth. Like, you don't want everyone to know. And that's like the
Succession.
That's what wealthy people go for, right? Yeah, that whole Succession thing.
I know what happens in Gestard.
Yeah. Loro Piano baseball caps and white gold Rolexes that people think steal. But then there's this like faux quiet luxury vibe, which is to me, it's like the undercurrent of quiet luxury, but really you want people to know. You don't want quiet luxury. You want people to think that you're really wealthy and acting and wearing certain things that make it look like you're really wealthy, but trying to be discreet about it whilst not being discreet.
It reeks of Ralph Lauren big pony polo shirts.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? Like that. That's like, oh, it's Ralph Lauren. It's discreet, but it's really not. It's a signifier for other people that are into the same shit as you are. Because everyone that knows what a Cartier looks like, or a Loro Piano looks like, or
yeah, I guess that's what I'm getting at, is that it's like there's this like section of expensive things that are meant to look not expensive, but they have those hallmarks, those deliberate hallmarks, and are marketed in that way that people really get. Those who get it, and it's
Oh my God, can we get rid of the trend of if you know, you know?
Oh my God, I don't know that we can. It'd be nice though. You've gone for the jugular on your take.
Look, I've gone with the old favourite, everyone's classic, the collabs. We still love a collab. Can't get enough of them.
Yeah, the Audemars.
Marvel's going well.
Yeah, Marvel's going well. The Travis Scott, kind of surprising, but
was it surprising? Not really.
Yeah, it surprised me. It's a cool watch though. The collab I don't think is as cool as the watch is, but
No, it was, yeah. But I mean,
yeah,
it's amazing that it hadn't happened earlier. I mean,
it's a
in
nice
retrospect.
looking watch. It's a very nice looking watch.
Yeah.
I would
Except
love
for
one.
the funny logo.
Yeah, it's all part of it. What to keep an eye on for 2024?
This is our last one. Make it a big one. Make it good.
So unfortunately, I don't think we're going to get our wish of watch top going bye-bye. But I think we're going to get growth in the kind of affordable / entry level segment.
To quote David H. Arado, the soft belly of the market.
Sure. The soft belly. Yeah, I think we're going to get that. I think people don't have as much money to spend. Yeah. And I think people are going to be looking for more affordable, more entry level, and they're going to be looking to kind of pick fun pieces that they wouldn't spend, their Rolex or their Cartier budget on, but they'll spend, 30% or 40% of that.
Zodiac. Yep.
So I think that we're going to see that, and I think we're going to see, and I've already been seeing it. This is why I think it's going to keep happening in 2024. But I think we're going to see more people kind of like try and do something different and be different. And you've got everyone wearing like quirky small watches. Yeah, I've seen a lot of it, and I've seen those people sort of, I want something different, I want something quirky, and really like digging through. And I think honestly, Mr. Enthusiast is to blame for some strong influence on quirky watches. Really,
well, I think that's one side of it, and I think the other side of it is you can't afford the other stuff you actually want. So you're looking for something that you can afford and is still, you can kind of hype up as being cool because, okay, you can't afford the Nautilus anymore, but you can get this weird other 70s Patek for a fraction of the price.
Yeah, what's that Louis Vuitton? Is it the Monterey?
Well, I don't know, but yeah.
That circle one that is like impossible to get now. And look, I kind of like it because you see it and you kind of see people pick it up and talk about it, and then you go on the rabbit hole of like, what is this watch? Where can I find it? Oh, I can't get it. It's $7,000. There's none on the internet. That to me is, at least you're learning something and you're enjoying it. So, I think that's and
discovery.
It's good discovery for us as old boys, and it's kind of cool to see, people go out and sort of really hunt things down because, the internet and social media has made it so easy to kind of track things down. And if you have the money, you can basically get whatever you want still. Even a, Tiffany Nautilus, you can find one. They're not, 170 or something, but you can still, I know where you can get them. Yeah. If you have the $3 million. So I do like that trend of people being forced to sort of, and maybe that's new people in the hobby as well, new people that have come in through this wave that are kind of going, or
people aging up in their, like they've bought the Rolexes, now they want to get something more interesting and they're being priced out.
I mean, having been on, watch social media for 10 years now, if you posted this stuff, if you posted when we started, if you posted these Pateks and this gem set stuff, no one cared. No one would be interested in it.
Yeah.
And now it's flipped. Now it's like you post the boring steel sports stuff, no one cares. And it's like posted Pavé Diamond, Patek or Piaget. Even Piaget. Keep an eye on Piaget next year.
Piaget's going to have a good year, I reckon.
Piaget, maybe Chopard finally. But yeah,
this ties into what I think for very similar reasons, so we don't have to go too far into it. But I think we're going to see lots more 90s and early noughties nostalgia. Like that, we're getting to that point where, I'm 40 and I was, that late 90s, early 2000s was when I was a teenager or in my, early 20s. So that's where I'm looking back to and, I can now probably afford that. I don't know, whatever the cool thing at the time was. So, and this certainly is happening in fashion. It's happening in everything else. So, I'm hoping for like wacky, like Oakley biomorphic watch designs and stuff.
Or you go buy the original one from the 90s because you just find one and.
But I think brands are now catching on to it too.
So, did you see Christian in our Discord pick up a new watch?
Yes.
Planet Ocean Omega with the orange bezel. Like that classic. That's such a him watch.
Like I reckon this is new. If when the new Bond gets released, I think we're going to see a remake of that OG.
That was like such a cool watch when it came out.
Yeah.
That would have been the watch every dad wanted.
Still
at
does.
the time. But that, like in that was such a moment. And then you go back and it's like probably $5,000 or something or less. Still,
yeah.
amazing quality. I mean, they still probably make it, something similar.
Yeah. I mean, I think they've upped it a bit, but that essential watch still exists. But yeah, that's what I think we're seeing a lot. We'll see a lot of that, like Frank Mueller being on the up and up again. All this sort of stuff. I think we'll see more of. Anyway, the year is almost wrung out, Andy. What do we do? What do we do to bring it home?
Okay, so to bring this home, Felix, make sure that you are in our Discord. It's where you can chat. You can chat watches over the break. We'll have a little break, but we'll link it up. Of course, follow us, ot.podcast on Instagram, otthepodcast@gmail.com. Felix still has to get a Substack out, but we do have the Substack. Got that going. Help us get into 2024. Make sure you subscribe. Make sure you're telling your friends. Make sure you are posting about OT. Leave us a review wherever you listen. And just generally keep up the good vibes. Thank you for listening for the last 3 years, 4
Season
years?
5.
Yes, 5.
We're going into season 5 now, Andy?
So I've got some news. Felix, this is it. This is the last episode.
Whoa.
Just kidding. We'll be back next week with more.
Maybe not next week, Andy. Don't promise that. We'll be back in January.
We'll be back in January. Thank you so much, Felix. Thank you so much, everyone, for listening.
See you later. Have a good new year and, all that stuff.